Okay, Storytelling Ron. Part 2 of Icewind Rime of the Frostmaiden. Rime of the Frostmaiden. I gotta remember what I'm doing. Okay, I've read through the first part, told you about that, the 10 towns and the sort of low level adventures, and now we're going to talk about the mid level adventures, 4th through 6th level. A couple things. In the first part, I really emphasized making it more scary, because the way they describe the characters in here, it was that the eternal winter that Frostmaiden created was inconvenience, like an inconvenience. It's been 2 years now of it. So, and I said they should be like, cannibals, depression, suicide, all crazy and dark. Reading through part 2, I'm like, they're really, it feels like they want it to be lighter, the way this, it feels very like Harry Potter with a little PG-13 to R, But again, so you may want to go that route. You may want to be lighter and a little more, not too dark and dour and depressing. I would probably aim for the more darker stuff. But I think maybe when they get to 4th, 5th, and 6th, maybe they're, as well. And I noticed this too with, in like the other campaign I'm doing, they become more heroic and brave. So the dark and dour doesn't really, they just start laughing at it and, I fear no, so maybe, there's that aspect to it. But I think in the beginning I really think you should emphasize the scariness, especially when they're low level. And then as they get 4th, 5th, 6th, you can kind of just play it how you want. Let me see here. So once they do sort of the local town things, you then get into part 2. And another thing I want to mention is there's a lot of things you get in one adventure that you then may have to use for another. So I almost feel like there's going to, hopefully someone will, or you as a DM will probably have to kind of do a little map of, or, different things that you get here and will need for this, or NPCs you get here and you're going to need for that. I'm kind of noticing that in some of these adventures. So you may want to read through all of them. They're it's a fun little read. They're fun little reads. So part 2, let me get to it. For instance, this is still in part 1, and they get a crystal shard here. One of the dark crystals or the shardolanes. I'm just going to call it dark crystal. Or I'll probably call it everything. But they get some... Oh, no, they get the sight... No, I don't think they get that. I think they get the Mind Flayer Psi thing in here. The Psi crystal. See? And there's another one, crystal shards. Psi crystal, and then that's going to be needed for another... in part 2. So there's that kind of, stuff you got to deal with. But so in part 2, they talk about, here's the rumors you can get in the tavern, or you could have specific people assign them these tasks, these quests. These are kind of mirrored. You can do one or the other. And then they got, they've got the random encounters. Oh, I'm also, it talks here about going up levels based on fulfilling quests. And that's, you can do it that way. I'm personally going to do XP. I really like XP. I love, when they ask at the end, do we get XP? And, they all add it up and start talking to each other, who got what. And, I usually give them all the same XP, but then if people miss a day, they won't get that XP. So they're, a little different, but whatever. They always like getting XP. So I'm going to probably just do XP. And I don't have I've never really had a problem getting them to the level that they needed to be at for the next thing. So there's, some interesting characters and quirky stuff going on. You can't really see it. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to change cameras here in a sec. But again, this map is really small and hard to read. I really wish it was bigger with the things. It's just a minor. My old fat eyes can't really read that. So, this is obviously very sort of Harry Potter-ish, the sperm whale with the bubble type ship there. And these encounters are interesting. The Black Cabin, is kind of a figuring out this magic weather thing. And then the knolls, these little caverns here. So I'm gonna do something else here in a sec. But anyway, I read through that first part, or the second part rather, the mid-level. I decided to continue reading, and I'll tell you here in a sec. Because after you do that, then you do Sunblight, which is the Dorgar, and they get the dark crystals, and obviously the main dude there is getting the crystals to make a dragon, which like a dark crystal dragon, which he then attacks the 10 towns, right? And so that to me was interesting So after you do that, let me just pull up this map. After you do that, ta-da! So after you do that part, you then the Frostmaiden part, right? So that's the 5th chapter. But then there's the 6th chapter. If you can see here, see my mouse up here is this Caves of Hunger, which is a big old cave crawl, and then Ithrin, which is the underground city, much like the one in kind of reminded me of the Drow City in the Abyss one. But what's weird is that the Caves of Hunger and Ithrin are like kind of after the Frostmaiden. I feel like the Frostmaiden should be the finale, the big thing. But then, and then you can do Caves of Hunger and Ithrin, and that's through the Arcane Brotherhood of Wizards, or the Arcane Wizards, or whatever. And here's a weird thing. I was reading through all this, and I was reading through all through Chapter 2, and then I started looking at the Duergar, the Frostmaiden, and then the Caves of Hunger and Ithrin. And the wizards, they didn't really come into play. It was kind of weird. They're in there, they're in the appendix and in the beginning, but I didn't really get a feel for them in the middle section where I thought they would build up, or lure the characters into doing something. And they don't really do it until the very end when you're done with the Frostmaiden, and then let's do Caves of Hunger and Ithrin. So it's a little disconcerting because when you do Chapter 2 with all the mid-level stuff, then you do Sunblight, which is the Duergar. There's not a real connection between 2 and Chapter 3. So you can see here is Sunblight. Now, where my camera is on the on this map, there's nothing underneath it. So at least you're not seeing that. But here's Sunblight, which is Chapter 3, and this is the Dark Doors. He's creating the Dark Crystal Dragon, which is then going to come up and attack the 10 towns. And in the story, when you reach Sunblight, the dragon just goes, and then you have to decide: are you going to take the dragon, or are you going to go to Sunblight? So that's kind of I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it where, and I haven't fully figured out what I'm going to do. Flesh out. I would really delve into this if I get a group together, but I'm just telling you kind of what I would probably do, and I have to really study it more. But I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make characters like, we're going to this fortress, and then suddenly that happens, and then they got to make that kind of decision. Because when characters are excited about something, I'm not going to take that away from them. I'm going to let them enjoy that excitement and not be pulled away or feel guilty, in trying to enjoy something. I just personally. So what I'm going to do for that one is they're going to go there to Sunblight, fight everything, fight the leader, Duergar leader, and at the very end he's going to release the dragon and do it that way, and they don't make it in time. But here's how I'm going to do it. So and I'm going in Chapter 3 instead of Chapter 2, but whatever. I'll go back to Chapter 2, don't worry. And I'm going to do it so that they know that the characters are coming or whatever. There's a lot of stuff. But they know their characters are coming, and he's going to sacrifice the characters, or whoever heroes are coming. And that's what they need, the final sacrifice to turn on this evil dragon and have it go. So, and then, of course, if they beat the main dude, he's going to sacrifice himself and take off. And then turn it, and then the dragon goes. So, so that's why they defeat him, but then the dragon goes. Now, of course, that'll bum them out because they want to get all the treasure. But I'll have to figure that out. Because if the players defeat an area, you want to let them feel the reward as well. So I got to figure that out too. But that's probably how I'll do it. I'll make it so that they do one thing at a time. Also, another thing I noticed missing was that this Duergar is collecting these crystal shards to make this dragon, but there's not a lot of that going on in these adventures. There's no connection from Chapter 2 adventures to Chapter 3, and I want that connection. I want that draw to Chapter 3. That they're like feeling this impending doom based on clues they're finding in all the different areas. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I'm going to, in Chapter 2, there's a lot of unique encounters and caverns, as you can see here, and I'll go through a few of them. But I'm going to make some of them have crystal shard mines or deposits that they're actually mining, or and what is this? There's more of it or whatever. And I'm going to make it maybe not a lot, like small pieces or not like they're getting a horde of it when they encounter this place. Like most of them are emptied, right? But there's little bits left. Like the Cave of the Berserkers, for instance, is one of ones where the berserkers are crazy because the crystal shards. So I'm going to make that like it was a deposit that they had cleared up. They're all crazy, but they had got a lot of the crystal shards for the dwarf. That one, the cackling chasm, I'll probably do that one too. The gnolls, I'll probably make crystal shards there that they mine that one. I think that the over here the Karkalok, the goblin one with the gnome impersonator that's impersonating the leader. I think I'm going to make that one crystal shards. And all of them have like if the players can interrogate or discover, will have some sort of story that they had a crystal shard deposit and they had mined it and then sold it to the Duergar or traded for the Duergar, and the Duergar gave them stuff they stole from the 10 towns, whether it's food or gold or maybe some low magic items or potions. So to me, I think that's what I want to do. I want to have the Duergar. They go out and steal stuff from the 10 towns. There's a couple of those mentioned. They're not. I don't see them going to 10 towns to get crystal shards, because that's what it says in here. The Shardlanes. I don't see them doing that because the crystal shards are evil, and I don't see the people holding, having that, except for that one where they hid one away in their the town hall. That one, I guess. But I think maybe I prefer that they steal stuff to then trade to the others, and then get the crystal shards from the deposits. So I'll probably do it that way. So I think the Cackling Chasm, which is the gnolls, crazy gnolls, Cave of the Berserkers, which are crazed barbarians, and the crazed goblins over here. Now the Id Ascendant, that one's like, to me, very goofy. It's the gnome, little short gnome mind flayers, and it crashed nautiloid ship or whatever. So that's where I was like, wow, this is kind of goofy. Because then those ones are like, can you help us with that? And then they want that psi thing from the first chapter, to fix their ship and then take off. And then they give them some laser guns or something. So that one, it's a little goofy, but could be fun. I'd have to think about it some more. I think maybe they could give them like intel on Sunblight, like they saw it or whatever, see what they're doing or something like that. I would do that there because you want to build up the dragon thing. What are they doing there? What are the Duergar doing? Build up those layers of clues. That's what really gets players going. The Lost Spire of Netherall. That one's interesting. I would connect that to the Lost City somehow, because that one has it's like a weird wizardy towery lost. It's got the simulacrum. It's got the wizard's clone, or not clone, but the magical simulacrum or whatever, and it's not really much fighting. I think there's one basilisk residing in there. It's just pretty small. It's kind of well, and all of these are interesting. All of them are very like one evening type, one shot encounters. All these mid-level things here. And so this one, I feel like I might want to connect it to the Lost City stuff. But I'm kind of the Caves of Hunger in Yithrin. They don't feel part. It's like they don't really feel like they're a part of the Frostmaiden story at all. Oh, also with the Sunblight, he worships he worships a dark dwarf, he thinks, and then here it says he worships Asmodeus, or Asmodeus is tricking him. I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna have the Frostmaiden control him, because that ties it in better. Have the Frostmaiden control him. Also, there's not the Frost Druids. They're not really used that much. I mean, I guess maybe in the random encounters they're used, but there's not really like. And then in some of the first level 10 towns, but I don't feel like they're really being used here in the mid-level stuff. So I'm going to have definitely one in Sunblight, because he's the Dark Dwarf, the leader. He's being controlled by a Duergar priest who's a barbed devil, right? So take that out and I'm going to put in Frost Druid is controlling him to make this dragon to attack 10 towns, which makes perfect sense because the Frostmaiden wants to take out and darken this world in winter. And what better race to have there than the Duergars, right? Because they're dark and evil and wintry. So I'm going to have definitely the Frost Druid there. And I'm probably going to put the Frost Druid at a couple other places to really emphasize this buildup of the Duergar plot of the dragon, and then the Frostmaiden plot. So a couple of interesting the Drawmoot over here is the Frost Giant one. With that one, I could probably just keep it unique. It has sort of unique stuff in it. The Dark Duchess. That one is a pirate ship. Oh, it has an ancient white dragon. That one's I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to remember, but that one, I'm trying to remember. Would I have it be part of the story or be a unique encounter? I would want most of them to be part of the story, whether there's Frost Druid there, or the Dark Crystals to do that part. I don't know, but I would. It's pretty far up though. I'd probably maybe have it be more of the Frostmaiden. The Rebels end up here. That one's a prison, a warden for the Lord's Alliance. I don't really, and it has it. And they're supposed to go talk to a red or a wizard there about what are the other wizards are doing. But he's been there a few years, so he wouldn't really know much. So I'm not too keen on that one. That one doesn't seem like it really is needed in this story. I mean, yeah, and it's kind of like out of the way. So I don't know if I would use that one at all. The Black Cabin, that one's kind of cool, interesting little magical thing. I'm definitely going to have like the Dark Crystals. If there's warlocks or sorcerers in the party, I'm definitely going to have them. That's going to be the highlight of their magic is these Dark Crystals and controlling them before, and the struggle between controlling them and them controlling them. Because I like to do magic items where they'll get a magic item, a staff or something, and then maybe they get a Dark Crystal and it adds +1 to their spells. But then if they get another Dark Crystal, it adds +2 or plus hit die or whatever. And also I'll probably have it where it's going to start messing with them. You know what I mean? Like maybe it turns their staff into a wild magic. Where it's it'll pop off a wild magic once in a while. That feature of sorcerer or something. Like something to where they got to contend with these dark crystals and deal with them and control them, right? So I would figure out something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool with those dark crystals. Maybe they can be put on weapons too. And but again, there would be something minor, not too frustrating, but that affects them in some way. Like if they put it on their sword, does it gives them +1, but does it take 1d6? That gives them 1d6. Each time they hold it or something or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it'll be something kind of minor like that. And I think that they should like slowly get into like maybe some kind of madness with it. But if they just do a restoration or pray to their god or whatever, it'll kind of, as long as they describe something that gets them to calm down or whatever, then I will let them but I will have that impendingness about it. So that, I guess, I don't know, maybe that's all I really need to talk about because the Goliaths are over here, these two different Goliath things, and that one to me just sounds like interesting NPC diplomacy stuff where you could probably especially if you have a Goliath character in there. But yeah, that's I think this is very similar to Tomb of Annihilation in one sense because it's like you can kind of go wherever you want, sandboxy, at certain levels, and then there's an impending doom. But I want to emphasize with you guys DMs is to really make sure that when they go from first level to the low level to mid level, and then to Sunblight, really tie them in, like really bring in some foreboding or foreshadowing or whatever it is. Really have a connection. And every time they go to a new place, there's something that connects them all. There's that impending doom that's building, and why are they collecting these crystals? And if you have a warlock or sorcerer, or a diviner, they can start seeing visions of a dragon or something, a dark shadow, coming over the towns and people screaming. You know what I mean? Start building up that fear that they have to do something, and they got to find this place, or where are they all delivering it to? And it could be that they delivered it maybe so far, and they just dropped it off somewhere and were given. There could be like little shrines that they have to drop it off at and get their little treasures or whatever, something like that, because there's invisible Dorgar there waiting for them. So there's that kind of cool, focus that you want to do, or that I would do. And again, Caves of Hunger and Ythrin, I'm reading through. I'm like, and I didn't totally read through chapter 5, 6, 7 thoroughly, but I read the beginnings of them and the ending to try to figure out how they fit. And it's kind of like I said, you need to really bring a better connection as the story goes along, like the Frost Druids or her Frost Druids. I don't feel there's enough of them affecting the plot or storyline in there. So I would probably replace some of the NPCs that are in there turn those into Frost Druids doing their thing. in the Caves of Hunger in Yuthrin, it's weird that they're after the Frostmaiden. And it does mention there that if you don't kill the Frostmaiden in chapter 5, she could show up at the Yuthrin and there could be another finale with her there. So there's that. I didn't from the Dwargar to the Frostmaiden, I didn't feel a connection. So definitely got to have that connection. Like after you defeat the dragon, then where's the need to go or that knowledge or awareness to go to her island next, and I didn't really capture that when I read it, and I didn't. Again, I fit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just wanted to see what the connection was, and I didn't feel the connection. So that's something you got to work on, I guess. I'm going to pause and take a look, and then come back and about that connection from Sunblight to the Frostmaiden. I want to see what the connection is, and then I'll come right back. Record. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in Velen is one of the wizards of the Brotherhood or whatever, arcane, and she's the one that after the dragon is killed, she then goes to the characters and asks them to help her. She wants to go to the city, but in order to get to the city, she needs certain items from the island where the Frostmaiden is. So I feel that's, I feel like that's too like out of the blue. I feel like there needs to be a build up to this. Like they know they need to go to the Frostmaiden anyway, but there should be more of their desire to get to the Frostmaiden. And I feel that that real turning point should be in Sunblight, where the Frost Druid is there helping him do the dragon thing. I mean, for me personally, I'm just saying, and then somehow connect that Frost Druid as like a powerful Frost Druid to the Frostmaiden somehow. Just saying. I just feel like when you accomplish all these things, and then chapter 4 here. Is that chapter 4? Okay, after you kill the dragon, and then chapter 4 is she comes up and says, "Oh, now that you killed it, could you guys do something for me?" I really want it to be more, for me personally as a DM, that they know what's coming next, or they're foreshadowing of that is coming next, and then that's what they want to do. So that's just, I'm just saying that's just something that I would change, and to make this more, again, like they're building up to do these things. But lots of amazing little sites, for the whatever you guys paid for this book. It's got a ton of stuff. It should be a lot of fun. It's cool that the adventures, except for the very end, are pretty short. Like you can do it one evening, maybe, or 2 evenings. Each of the layers and stuff, and they all have different little tricks and traps and unique things that you're gonna deal with besides just combat. So that's cool. I'm definitely, like I said, I'm gonna do my own treasure list probably based on the characters and what I see and what I think they'll need, and then the culture of the area. And like I said in the first one, I'm probably gonna do a lot of tools, like have them really focus on toolkits, and then the components and ingredients for those toolkits I'm gonna make those really available in the 10 towns or in the locations they were at, and the crystal shards. I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious about them using whale oil, fish oil, and any kind of magical creatures to make potions that they need. So yeah, it should be pretty fun. I definitely want to look at one other thing. Sorry, is weather conditions and light. Since it's going to be dark, I'm definitely going to look at how they deal with light, torches and lanterns or whatever they're going to use. That's going to be kind of interesting as well. So that's my second part. Just kind of giving you advice on what I think is like how you want to make sure they're not lost in what they're doing and everything is too confining. That there's a spider web connection, leading to something, as opposed to each thing is unique. Because when they're sort of unique, I think players, and especially when you go week to week, you tend to forget what you're doing. You want to have that growth of clues. I love when they like, for instance, the Storm King's Thunder, the conchs. I went to go to every giant. So every time they came up and found another conch, they got so excited, like because it's a connection from the last one. Because I made it each conch in the Storm of King's Thunder, I made it so that it connected to the next one up or next giant up or whatever, like a telephone. And so there's that connection, that build up of an epic storyline. But yeah, so for you as DMs, you got to figure that out. Figure out how you want to do that. Whether you connect the Crystal Shards and the Dark Dwarf or the Frostmaiden and her Frost Druids. I think her Frost Druids could be a connection. They're spreading around trying to do terrible things. And then a couple of unique, obviously, you want a couple of unique, areas that there's neat different things. And then again, the Caves of Hunger in the city. That's kind of weird, man. It's so different from everything else in here. Sort of, but I haven't really. I'm not sure how I'm going to work that one in yet. I'm going to have to think about that for a few days, and maybe I'll come up with something. Anyway, all right. So that's it. I hope this has been helpful. Give you some ideas, or give you an understanding of like keeping players, connected to the story, and the build up, and the connecting everything like with the spider web as opposed to just having different encounters. Hope that was okay. Hope that wasn't too boring or yappy. Okay.